Hello, friends. Welcome back to the fanfiction, What the Morning Gave Us. We have moved on to chapter 3, and it is called What We Carried. Present day Kirishima point of view. The morning light poured slowly and steadily through the cafe windows, spilling golden streaks across the countertop as Kirishima refilled the pastry case. The sky had the same soft gray-blue tone it always did right before the sun made its entrance, when the world felt hushed and waiting. It tugged at something in his chest. The sunrise, like this one, reminding him of that morning, years ago. Not from a shop window, not from behind a counter, from a rooftop, cold and quiet, and lonelier than he'd ever wanted to admit. He stilled. The cafe was quiet, save for the hum of the morning. His eyes drifted to the far wall, gaze snagging on nothing and everything. Flashback, high school rooftop, years ago, Kirishima. They usually walked together. Bakugo never said it was a thing, but it had become one. Kirishima hadn't meant to skip out that morning. Well, maybe he had, but not for attention. He just couldn't do it that day. The smiles felt heavier, the jokes stuck in his throat. He'd been trying so hard to live up to the version of himself people liked, the loud, brave one, the manly one. But that morning, it cracked. I'm supposed to be stronger than this. So he climbed the fire stairs behind the gym up to the rooftop. No one came up here unless they were smoking or hiding. The sky was barely light, just a thin haze of blue smudging out the stars. He sat near the edge, knees drawn up, arms looped around him, like he was trying to hold himself together with pressure alone. He hadn't slept, couldn't, no matter how hard he tried. The weight in his chest had started days ago, something slow and creeping, and that morning he just couldn't do it, couldn't put on the smile. He didn't cry, but it was a near thing. I always feel like I'm supposed to hold it together for everyone else, but I don't know who's holding it for me. What if the real me, the tired, not so manly, kind of messed up me, what if he's not someone people stick around for? The words weren't out loud, but they echoed anyway. Then came the sound of heavy boots on the fire stairs behind him. Kirishima froze. He didn't move, didn't look. The footfalls were steady, familiar. He knew that walk. Only one person stomped like that. Bakugo, of course. He didn't say anything, just walked over, sat down maybe a foot away. No questions, no accusations, just there. Just the early cold and the sound of the wind and two boys staring at a city that was starting to wake up. The clouds split faintly above the skyline. A sliver of gold cracked through the gray. It wasn't loud. It didn't rush in. It just showed up. Kirishima exhaled, finally, like his lungs had been frozen shut. I don't know who I am if I'm not the guy who makes people smile. He blinked hard, voice low. What if nobody wants the version of me that's quiet, tired? A long pause, then Bakugo's voice, quiet but solid. Then fuck 'em. He didn't look over. I didn't show up this morning for your smile. I showed up because you weren't there. Silence. The sun rose slow and golden across the rooftops. They sat together and didn't move. They sat like that for what felt like forever. The silence between them didn't stretch. It settled. Finally, Kirishima's voice broke through it, low, barely more than a breath. I thought if I smiled hard enough, it'd stop feeling fake. No response at first, just the wind catching on the edge of Bakugo's jacket. You don't have to fake it with me. Kirishima blinked down at his knees, his throat tightening. I don't feel like I'm enough, not really. That was the truth, a hard one he never said out loud. Bakugo's voice came after a long pause, quiet and firm. You don't have to be anything but here. He sat there while the sky slowly shifted, black fading to deep blue, orange cracking along the edge of the horizon like a fire threatening to catch. They watched the sun rise in silence. And somehow, in that space, Kirishima started to believe he wasn't alone. Bakugo didn't touch him, didn't offer him some pep talk or loud reassurance. The clouds shifted, and the sunlight started bleeding across the sky, gold through gray, steady and slow. They sat like that until the first bell rang, and something between them, some thread, tied a little tighter. Present day, Bakugo POV. Bakugo flipped open the sketchpad, fingers steady, movements careful. He stared at the page for a moment, then he began to draw, pencil scratched against paper in slow, thoughtful strokes. He didn't usually draw like this, not slow, not soft, but this piece wasn't for the wall. It wasn't for the shop. It wasn't even for him. He shaded the cracks in the clouds first, soft lines and careful pressure, then the light. Not a blaze, not a burst, just a quiet warmth breaking through. A sliver of gold threading past the darkness, gentle where it could have been loud. He stared at it for a long time before adding the last curve, just a faint line on the horizon. Bakugo set down the pencil. It wasn't just a sunrise, it was that morning, the one that stayed. Across the street, light spilled through a cafe window. All right, guys, thank you for listening to Chapter 3. Chapter 4 will be out soon. I hope you guys have enjoyed so far.